Hello everyone, I'm Ira Coleman, the founder at Fluent Hustle. We are on set at Capital One Café, Union Station, Lodo in Denver. We are continuing our Financial Confidence and Money series. The theme of today's show is around empowerment. We are joined by Joyce Chen, Capital One's Director of Money Coaching Programs, Amy Westbrook, Capital One Money Coach, and our guest today is Schromm, founder at Evolved Emotion, Element T, Platform Strength, and many other creations. Fluent Hustle supports the mission of empowering entrepreneurs via a community of trust, sharing, learning, and growth. Our goal is to foster entrepreneurial success and personal fulfillment. Capital One strives to empower people to feel confident about the relationship with money. Their objective is to educate and empower people to help them reach their money goals. Both Fluent Hustle and Capital One are focused on helping people develop important life skills. Fluent Hustle wants to help entrepreneurs build their business, their network, and their world. Capital One wants to help people take control of their personal finances and achieve their goals. Joyce joins us today as the director of the Capital One Coaching, Money Coaching Program. And you have a vast experience in the coaching side and building teams and processes as well. So if you can provide us an insight on how this money coaching program has come about and what it means to Capital One to really integrate this throughout the community.
Sure. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here. So yeah, I lead the money coaching program as well as it's kind of a epic name for a team, but it's human experiences, which basically means that I am taking care of sort of the associate and customer interactions throughout all of our branches and cafes and some of the services that come along with the experience in the cafes and branches, like money coaching. And as far as money coaching and how it kind of became part of the experience within our branches and cafes throughout our markets, it started actually several years ago, probably 4 years ago, as a research project that had nothing to do with the consumer bank. It was a group of 2 different teams in the innovation lab and a design team that were kind of tasked with answering this kind of wide open question of how do we create differential value for our customers when we're living in an era of like vast distrust for financial institutions and also digital banking products being somewhat commoditized and kind of very similar one from the next. So there was sort of a very open-ended research and innovation program that went on, very human-centered approach to designing this program where we went out and spent time with people in their homes and tried to understand how they think about money, how they think about banks, how they think about their life and their money related to each other. And it was through that research that there were some key aha moments that we uncovered that kind of inspired ultimately this service. The first one was that there was a subset of the people we studied, and they tended to be millennial, but it's not exclusively so, who were really interested in becoming more financially savvy and financially healthy and kind of set up for success in the future, but were a little bit afraid to even start educating themselves. In part because, in part because, you know, there's a lot out there that says what you should and shouldn't do, and people are already thinking, well, maybe I'm already doing the wrong thing, so should I even start? You know, kind of avoiding the problem. And the second big insight was that, you know, the truth, and this is not even all that unique of an insight, it's kind of just an obvious realization that money is just an enabler, right? Everything we do in life is enabled through money. Money in itself has no value. It's how we direct the money that creates the value for us. So in order to really live a life that feels truly fulfilled and that you're really using your money effectively, you have to be thinking about how does it align with my values and how am I living my life in a way and spending my money, my time, and my energy in a way that really aligns with those values. Excuse me. So that all kind of culminated in some early prototypes of this service that we now call money coaching. And at the same time that was happening, our consumer bank was expanding its retail branches, locations into new markets, and wanted to do it in a different way because we're going to digital banking. We're not going to be needing so many of the services that are in our branches today. How can we create a different experience in our retail spaces? And that's how the cafe was born. And because the cafe's value prop is really all about creating this very welcoming space for people to come in and explore and learn about money and not feel pressured to buy anything other than maybe some coffee, but hopefully they'll want to do that. That made money coaching feel like a really good fit. We offer this complimentary service for free to customers and non-customers. You get up to 3 sessions with a money coach, And they're really there to support you in your journey on kind of getting to financial wellness, financial health, however you define that to be. And so that's kind of how it became part of a core piece of our retail strategy.
And when you guys brought in the money coaching as a resource to the community within the cafes for customers and non-customers, how was that transition for the customers to, one, be aware of it, and then two, like embrace the opportunity to sit down with someone where there might have been some hurdles and resistance around money to begin with?
Yeah, I think for one thing, we're very clear that this is not a financial advising program. So we don't have financial advisors on staff. They're actually certified life coaches. And so they really start from your life. Who are you? What do you want in life? And then the money becomes an enabler to all the things that they want to do in their life. And so that's one thing, and explaining that, especially people who are not familiar with life coaching, can be a little bit of a challenge. But it helps that in all of our cafes and branches where we have money coaches, by and large, the entire team of ambassadors there have also gone through money coaching, so they can speak to it from a very personal experience. I would say the other thing is just literally like, if Amy's hanging out in Denver and just chatting with people, then she can help kind of give a taste of what that feels like. Yeah. I don't know if you have any other comments or techniques for how you kind of get people over the hump.
Well, yeah, a lot of times I'm standing around and meeting people, and I'll be introduced to someone, and it just gives me an opportunity to give an overview, which you did a great job. Thank you. I don't have to do that now. What I can do for folks and how I can help them get clarity, and that it's not a scary thing, and that it's truly designed on where they are in their journey, and there's no right or wrong answer. It's really designing their life based around their values and what they want. So when people hear that, it takes the scary factor out of it.
Yeah.
Joyce, may you provide some stories that bring to life the value of the money coaching and experiences that have come in?
Yeah, sure, I'm happy to. So we were fortunate enough that some of our clients were so happy with their experience that they were willing to come back and share in detail what happened, because all of our sessions are confidential, so we otherwise would not be able to get these stories. But one of the clients who came back spoke about how he had already had like a first career for several decades as a photographer, and yet he had a background that was a combination of a fine arts degree and an MBA. And he wanted to kind of take a transition in his career and move towards marketing and becoming a marketing professional. But he had sent out his resume to a bunch of different companies, and nobody seemed to be biting. And he went in and kind of sought advice on how do I kind of move forward, or trying to get clarity on what do I do next if this doesn't seem to be working. And in that session, and actually a series of sessions that followed with the money coach, he discovered that the person he was putting out there on his resume was not really who he was. He was kind of assuming that the marketing companies that were hiring him, or these companies that were trying to hire this marketing professional, were looking for a particular type of person, and especially the person that reflected the MBA part of his background. So he kind of like didn't even tell the story of his creative background and all of the things that he had done with that talent and that skill. And in discovering this, he realized, well, if he's not putting himself out there authentically, then does he really want an employer who wants that person that he just described on a piece of paper? And wouldn't he much rather prefer somebody who could see his true hybrid strengths as an asset to their company, and potentially even pay him more for that? So it was through the conversation with the money coach that he discovered, I don't have to be thinking about this as like, please hire me for this new kind of role that I'm not yet necessarily proven in, and more, hey, look, here's what I can offer you from my vast experience in running my own business and having this creative profession, and I am judging you, employer, as much as you're judging me on whether this is a good fit. And so it really reframed how he went about the entire process of trying to look for a job. And as soon as he changed his resume to reflect who he really was as a result of all these money coaching sessions, he started getting calls. Wow. He got interviews, and he now has a position, and he's very well paid for it, and he's super happy with what he's been able to accomplish.
And through the money coaching session, the coach was able to hone in to his authentic self, and paint that true portrait of who he is.
Or help him realize the true
help
portrait.
Him realize, yeah,
exactly.
That's great. Any other stories?
Yeah, I think so. That's one example of how it's helped an individual. A lot of times we get clients who come in who are who are couples, and they're coming in because there may be some conflict or some difficulty talking about money. And in in one case that I heard a couple talk about, they came in kind of a little bit on a whim. They had just been at a cafe event and learned about money coaching. And they had seen financial advisors before, which made them actually apprehensive about coming to money coaching, because their attitude about money was sort of like, okay, every time we talk about it, we get in a fight, so we just don't ever talk about it. And we know that part of the problem is we make a good income, but we don't seem to keep it.
Yeah.
And so because we know that that's the problem and we haven't figured out how to solve it and we can talk about money, our approach to money is sort of like, every once in a while I'll look in there and be like, oh, okay, I'm not gonna, okay, never mind. And just like avoiding kind of the subject and the topic altogether. And so obviously they were kind of apprehensive coming into this session, like what is this person gonna do for us that will, change everything we've tried in the past? And right off the bat, the coach didn't even ask them about money. She asked them to talk about their values, and they did these separate exercises about their values and their goals in their lives. And much to their surprise, when they showed each other these pictures, these activities that they did, they found they had really aligned goals and really aligned values. And those values were always centered around community and being social and having like a network of support and people to be around. And so there was a discovery that maybe our conflict doesn't come from what we think it is, but it's really just what we assume the other person is saying or thinking about what we're talking about. And B, they had an aha moment where previously when they'd gone to see a financial advisor who had told him, okay, if you're spending more than you're saving, or spending not enough, or saving not enough of what you're spending, then what you need to do is basically stop doing all the things you love to do, like get rid of the lattes, stop going to dinner for 2 years, save up the money, and then you can start doing all those things you love again.
Stop living.
Stop living, yeah. And they were just like
miserable to me.
And for two people whose like top values, shared values in their couple, their life, their family together, were around being social and gathering people and stuff, that just seemed impossible and like not them. And so of course they didn't do it. And so of course they didn't figure out how to solve that problem. But now really aligning and really taking a hard look at their priorities and their values, they were able to say, okay, these other values that we don't actually value as highly as prioritize as highly, we could maybe make some sacrifices on in terms of money. And it was through a process of that and continued coaching with this coach that they were able to really get their finances in order, not be afraid of talking about them, and ultimately find income streams that they could really like maximize to bring in get them to the place that they were happy about with their spending and saving.
I love the couple's example, and one talking about making sure that their visions are aligning with one another,
Yes.
and they're assuming from one another the things that probably weren't happening. And then once they got an opportunity to be on the same page, then they were able to make an assessment of, okay, how can we shift moving on, and making sure that we're being fulfilled in our values,
Yeah.
and be able to still go out, have coffee, enjoy that community aspect, and still be able to enjoy life, as
Yeah.
opposed to being, put life on pause, save up a whole bunch, and then realize that it's not going to make any difference for them 2 years, 3 years down the road. They have more money, but the fulfillment isn't there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and can I add too that like there's two words there. It's an assumption and it's autopilot. It's not really designing how you want to spend your money. And when you design it, that's really where the fulfillment comes. And that's why the coach can be the bridge sometimes to figure out where there is common ground with a couple, or just if it's an individual that's coming in for a session. But taking out the assumptions, taking yourself off of autopilot, and really designing how you want the spending to look like, so you can design the lattes, you can design the socializing, if that's what you truly value, right?
Yes, and since we got you speaking, Amy Westbrook here, Capital One Café's money coach for here in Denver and Boulder. Can you explain to us, from your perspective in the role that you sit in, what is money coaching for those who haven't had a chance to really understand it, and what are the benefits of why someone should consider jumping into that the opportunity to take advantage of the resource that Capital One is able to provide?
Right, so we offer 3 complimentary sessions. So it's 3 hours with a money coach. And as you mentioned, I am a certified life coach. So it's a blend of finances and money. So I'm not a financial advisor. So it really is more centered around on what are your goals? why do you want what you want? And how do we design the life that has you feeling fulfilled? It's one thing to, try and get control of your money, but a lot of times we have to get control of our behaviors, our mindset. And when we can get control of that, that's when the positive stuff starts to happen with our finances. And so that's really how we structure our sessions together. I'll figure out what your goals are. I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions. So it's not me telling you anything. It's me pulling it out of you. All that stuff that's swimming around inside of your head and figuring out what your goals are. But we're also going to look at what's getting in the way and how can we remove some of those hurdles. And then we're going to put together a plan to help you achieve those goals. So it's really like a 3-step process.
And I want to speak from a personal experience. Amy and I had sat down and I did a money coaching session with her, and one of the exercises was shifting your spending.
Scale your spending was the name of the exercise.
Sorry, scale your spending. Yeah. And one of my bad habits at the time was eating out all the time, lunch and dinner all the time. And I brought it up to Amy, and I was like, I like the lifestyle, like it's quick and easy for me, but I want to figure out, how can I do other things that I value in life, travel, go on, dates with my mom, have an opportunity for a son and mom opportunity to, to really build our relationship and that connection. And she brought to my attention through this exercise that she didn't tell me this, but my aha moment was I don't need to be eating out every single day. I don't need to be eating out, at restaurants, every opportunity I get. So what I did was I'm gonna cut back 1 day per week, and then 2 days per week, and then just start planning ahead and have an opportunity. In turn, now I've also saved a little bit of money for some travel coming to 2019,
Yay.
And I'm having an opportunity to find more fulfillment and actually cooking a meal. I still hate the cleaning part. Cooking meals are fun, but it was very helpful for me to be able to do that. So I really appreciate shining that light on the areas I wasn't looking at, that maybe I knew they were there, but I was neglecting not to look behind the door. But open up the door, shine a little bit of light on it, and not make me feel stupid about it either. It was just like, hey, here are your options. You're an intelligent person. You can figure it out on your own. So it was really empowering to me to make that happen.
Yeah.
So. What workshops are on the horizon? We're at the beginning of the new year, 2019. A lot of people come into New Year gung-ho about their resolutions and making changes and everything like that. And right around now, people have fallen off, or they've given up, or
Yes.
They say, what, I'll wait till another 365 days down the road to kind of revisit that. So I want to bring this up for the audience to be able to be aware that it's not too late, and if you want to make a change, today's the moment to be able to do that. So if you can just shine a little light on that.
Thank you. I love that. And it's true. It's never too late. So in addition to the 3 complimentary money coaching sessions, we offer workshops in the cafe. Some are led by ambassadors. Some are led by me, the money coach. My particular workshops are heavily centered around your values and designing your spending around those values. We've got one called Your Money, Your Values. We have Talking Money with Your Honey. We also have a workshop on boundaries. Who could use more boundaries? With ourselves and other people. So we've got some great workshops in the mix and more to come. So make sure you're checking out the website, capitalone.com/local/money coaching, and we'll advertise those. Or stop into the cafe.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys. Thank you, Joyce. Appreciate
Thank you.
So. All right, so we have Schromm here. She is an ultimate business boss and has multiple creations and is passionate about making a difference in this world. As a personal trainer, nutritional therapy practitioner, TV personality, a serial entrepreneur, helping others empower themselves through food and movement. Running an online business, EmilySchromm.com. Her ventures include backpack turned weight training invention, the EmPack. She has a podcast, Meathead Hippie, an herbal tea line, Element Tea, and her newest venture is a 24/7 access gym called Platform Strength. One, I don't know how you find all the time in the world to make these creations happen, but I definitely commend you, and I've had an opportunity to follow you for a little while, and listen to your podcast and see what you're doing on social media. And it's inspiring to me. It really is inspiring to me, and I'm hoping that the audience can get a chance to understand your journey, your story, and provide some insight on how they can make it as well. So, there's without a shadow of doubt, you have a spark in you, an entrepreneurial spark. How did that come about?
It was such an accident. I had no intention of ever being a business owner, and I think that's what's so cool about it, is that if you really find the thing you love, if you really find the thing that you want to do more of, you can make it into a business. And so it was simply kind of this passion of, I was on reality TV, so this is about 10 years ago in DC, so I was on reality TV watching myself, which is always a horrible, you know when you hear yourself talk and you're like, oh my God, I do not want to hear myself talk. Imagine that being you living your life for 3 months, and it's you have to just hold on and just buckle up, because it's a really introspective experience. So what I thought was more for entertainment of people actually ended up me realizing I do not like who I am. I really don't like this person I see, not necessarily because of the way I looked or the way I talked. It just was overall I was really discontent with my life, and it all kind of came out at once. And so it was my own journey of figuring out how can I like the person that I see in the mirror, and then figuring it out, even though it's always a work in progress, really made me understand that everyone feels that way at some point in their life, and we all deserve to like what we see, and we all deserve to be proud of who we are. And so as I was figuring it out, I realized I have a beautiful platform to be able to help other people figure this out as well. And so it just became, how can I help people access this information? No BS, no, let's try this for 2 weeks and let's end it, let's start it and let's stop it. Like, I want these people to really feel what they can accomplish when they believe in themselves. And so it became me starting off at 24 Hour Fitness. So I started off at a Globo gym, washing dogs on the side at U Shampooch to make ends meet. I was very broke, but I knew that was what I wanted to do, and I just didn't even care. I just had my head down, washing dogs, would race to the gym, train clients, and it became this obsession where I really, out of nowhere, found what I knew I was going to do for the rest of my life. And so after finally about 11 months at the Globo gym of just training clients and doing what I could and learning as much as I could, my boss actually looked at me and he said, you need to quit and start your own business.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my gosh. Okay, let's see what that's like. And I had no idea what I was doing, but I knew that it felt right. I didn't want to have a boss anymore. I wanted to make my own decisions. I wanted to make my own choices. I didn't want to wear a name tag another day in my life. And I just felt like, okay, I can figure out how to make this work. And so that's how it began for me.
So we were talking about authenticity with the money coaching experience and someone putting their resume out there and painting that picture that wasn't truly them. Seemed like you had a little bit of that going on within yourself.
Yeah.
And how have you been able to, one, recognize that and hold yourself true to that moving forward as you are creating these businesses you're working with?
Well, that's I think the best part is when you're just expressing yourself through the things you love. That's not even an option, right? It just is what it is. It's authentic, it's genuine, and that's what people are drawn to. And so I'm really lucky that starting on, it was just me expressing I want to help, and that became something that attracted the right types of people to me, 8 years ago. Mm-hmm. And those are the people that are even at my gym that I just opened up. They're now my first members that I get to train in person, and it's really incredible how it's so easy to be short-sighted with businesses and what can help me make the quickest amount of money within a week or within the year. But when you slow it down and you just constantly say, does this decision feel right? Does it feel like me? And will other people know it's me? Or does it feel disingenuous? Does it feel like I'm trying to make a puzzle piece fit that isn't gonna fit just because I can? Which is so easy to do, because as entrepreneurs, you want to say yes to everything. You want to just have opportunity after opportunity. But if that opportunity is not in full alignment with who you are, what you do, it will come back to bite you in the butt. So really saying yes to those things that feel right. And then when you find those things that feel right, you just go all in. You just go 100% in.
So when your boss came up to you and was like, hey, you need to move on. And you're like, wait, what? Are you firing me to go pursue something else? What was that moment, and how did it feel? And did you accept it right away, or did you have doubt along that process?
Oh man, I had no idea. I was ready to get out of there. Let's just say, when you're at a job you just are ready to not be at. I think it was just time. So he actually is my head coach at my gym that I just opened. So this is my best friend. We've been, friends since this
epiphany, and I just love it because it's such a great example of the people in your life are going to believe in you before you believe in yourself. And it's going to take a lot of times of them saying you're ready for something, and you're like, no, I'm not. There's no way I'm ready for it, but you just got to do it. I mean, there's this great quote, and I'm going to butcher it, but it's saying everyone has fear and everyone has doubt, and you're going to have an idea, you're going to have some sort of light bulb that goes off, and you're like, oh, I could do that, or I could create that, but you think too much. We hold too much into the same position, right? We're just pausing, and I think the only thing that sets me apart from other people that don't have 5 businesses is that I don't pause. I literally always jump, but it took the person around me to say you're ready to do that. And so I think finding the people that believe in you more than you believe in yourself, especially at the beginning, it's just so vital.
Yeah, surrounding yourself with people that believe in you, that you can trust as well, and give you that nudge on a continual basis, because we want to slow down and stop, even though we're like go. In our head, we're like, no, this isn't going to work out. We have these limited beliefs start popping up, and then your trust circle is like, no, you can do it. Go after it, make it happen. So what's been the driving force to go from working at a gym to now having 5 creations? And like, how did you wake up one day like, holy cow, like, what just happened here over the course of the last 10 years?
We decided to call them creations, not companies, because companies sounds overwhelming. So creations are what we're going to call them. So I think it was just, so each one, kind of the journey of it, because it is very overwhelming. Like, I annoy myself when I tell people my bio. This is like, it's just like, I do this and I do this, but it's the team, right? You got to meet some of my team, and I could not do what I do without the team that I have. But it really is problem solving. This is embarrassing, but I was always obsessed with Matlock and Nancy Drew and all these, and I'm a detective, so I feel like I wanted to figure out problems to things, and I had no idea how that would come into play until Evolve Motion. And so it was seeing my clients. I had at-home programs where it was dumbbells only. You work out at home, you just need 1 pair of dumbbells, and that's it. And I did program after program after program. So after about 2 years, I realized these people have the same dumbbells. Like, the whole point is for them to get stronger. And I couldn't figure out how can you make weight accessible when someone's trying to get stronger, because you have to change the weight that you're loading in order to still see results. And I also was traveling a lot, and I knew I wanted to work out when I was traveling. And so I had this idea, what if I create a backpack that turns into a weight training bag, and then I can use it anywhere I go, but now my clients can just add more water as they need more weight. And so that was really the step into knowing, wow, I think I might have a thing for being a business owner, because we launched on Kickstarter. It was funded in 4 hours. It was this really incredible process of, oh my gosh, this is happening. And then I started to see products are so much different than service. And I was obsessed with the idea of not selling myself. I wanted to sell something. And that was a really cool pivot for me in 2016, where I was like, yes, I can breathe a little bit, right? Because this is a saturated market. We're all trying to help somebody with health coaching, and it's all beautiful, but it still is you putting yourself out there and being like, I can make you better. But now I had this product that could represent everything that I believed in, adventure and strength training and badassery, and I could step away a little bit, so it still existed. And so that was really the first step into knowing I loved making products. And then I knew my podcast is Meathead Hippie, which I was lucky enough to have Amy on. So I'm total meathead, but the side that I don't get to talk about enough is my hippie side. And I'm obsessed with taking care of this whole like tarot card, Palo Santo, dance in the full moon. Like, I think, I got my mala on. Like, I'm a little bit excessive, but it is something that when you look at how many issues for entrepreneurs come from stress, or for anybody in this world start with stress, if that isn't part of your routine in some way, it will catch up. And so it caught up really hard. When I launched on Kickstarter, I was also competing. I was, going like 90 miles per hour, and I would not slow down. I hated naps. I was still taking clients online, in person, and my body just stopped. And so it was me getting into nutrition and nutritional therapy and herbal medicine that allowed me to understand that the same hole, the gap in the industry with the backpack training bag, existed with tea and herbal medicine. And so for me, creating the teas was this beautiful way of saying, I love when you work out. I love when you get strong. But if you do not take care of your gut health or your stress levels or your anxiety, it will always catch up with you, and you won't see any results. That the results come from your body really being in balance. And so that was the tea company. And so it just kind of kept going.
Like a year from now, she'll be at 10 creations.
No, I'm
coming
cut
in.
off. I'm
She
cut
says
off.
that now.
Cut off on that one.
So you're an entrepreneur. You have these creations, and they're happening out of necessity for you and your clients. And I want to get to the team aspect because I think it's very important. But before that, I want to talk about what was your personal relationship with money? And as the money started coming in, did you notice that some of your old habits or ways of being were affecting your business? Or did they, because you talk about the solopreneur and the founder's voice, right? Like when it's you and it's your business, consistencies happen.
Yeah.
But then we start to create a team, then it starts to morph into other voices. So I just want to kind of get an understanding of like, what were you dealing with getting into business that you probably weren't aware of now, 10 years later?
Oh man, I was horrible with money. I mean, I feel like I'm like, if I can do it, anybody can. I mean, I dropped out of college to learn how to snowboard, and I did not even look at my student loans for years. Like I just avoided, remember the subset number one? Avoided. And I didn't like detail, and it would overwhelm me when I would look at my bank account that I just stopped doing it. And I feel like when I started my own business, I signed up for radical responsibility, right? So it's like, okay, if you're gonna do this, Emily, you better sit down and get confident with those details. And it was so hard for me. It took everything in me to want to avoid it, to want to not care. And I was really living off of initially looking at the bank account saying, how many shirts can I purchase for this month? For maybe next month. That was my foresight. I would maybe go 6 weeks in advance, and I was just surviving. How can I get this to go to this? I had no desire to do anything more than that. My relationship with money, in a really deep sense, it was terrible growing up. So my parents had a lot of debt. And so for me, relationship with money, I think when I think of it back then, oh my gosh, to me, money meant problems. And I just didn't know how to get out of that mentality. So I didn't even care if I made money. I just wanted to make rent, and I wanted to pay for my food. And I was living off of like tuna cans. Like this is like really bad, kind of like on the low, washing dogs and eating tuna. And that's a real highlight of my life. But I realized, as businesses grew, and especially with the launch of my first product, with the EmPack, when you start to sit down and you almost make it a fun game. You say, okay, how can I make this a product that I know is gonna not make me lose money? Because I definitely lost money on my Kickstarter, by the way. So when you launch, do you guys know how Kickstarter works? So you launch a product and you just kind of guess what the price is. We didn't even know what the price was, and we were off by like $60 of what this price was. So we had a really successful campaign. So everyone's like, wow, you crushed it. And I'm like, oh my God, I lost money on this Kickstarter.
Yeah.
So that was my moment of, you have to sit down. What does every buckle, what does every piece of Velcro, what does every yard of fabric? And I, instead of seeing it and getting overwhelmed, I was like, I have to make this a game. I got to be Nancy Drew. I got to be a little detective here. And it finally switched for me because I was like, this can be a really fun, beautiful way to grow the company.
How did you switch from being overwhelmed to say, I got to turn this into a game? What did it take for you to have that moment to shift?
Well, it no longer was I serving myself, right? So as a service business owner, when all I was doing was online programs, strength programs, nutrition, I was just me to client. And now when I had this product, I saw it could be bigger than I. This could be in stores. This could be on Shark Tank. This could be in places that I myself couldn't tap into. And it switched because I realized what I'm doing on this earth or in my path is way bigger than just me. I have to allow it to be bigger than just me, and I have to think of it in a way that's, I'm just an extension of how this exists. And so I think it was a shift of saying, I know this could be bigger than me, but it's not going to be bigger than me if I'm not going to suck it up and finally look at this in a way that I know I can look at it. That's fun, that's creative, that's not overwhelming. And there's days it's always going to be overwhelming, but it was it was a game for me to shift it. It was like, I can make this as big as I want it to be only if I put these doubts and these overwhelming feelings aside and I shift it that way. Does that help? Does that make sense?
And it does. And I just want to draw a corollary too, that even if you're not running your own business and it's just personal finances that you're struggling with, like, it's okay if you don't want to open the closet. Like, that's a lot of people. But I mean, that's, come in for the money coaching session, and that's where I can help you open the closet, and we can start to pick that apart. Because we know that it is a hard first step. But we can also make it fun, gamifying things. And here's a game you can play at home. You don't want to look at your stuff? Tell yourself you're only going to look at it for 5 minutes. I'm just going to go through it for 5 minutes, right? It's that one little tiny step that you can take, and then next time maybe you can do it for 7 minutes. Then maybe you can do it for 10 minutes. I kind of liken it to working out.
It is like working out, right?
Just
Yeah,
a little bit
I was
at a
gonna say that,
time,
yeah.
building your financial muscle. So
It is.
yeah.
And I think after you initially get through that first step, then the beautiful world of business opens up. And so now I'm like, oh, wow, I just made money to make another production run. I just made money to make a tea company. And then the coolest thing, and something I'm just so proud of, is being able to open a gym without any investors and being completely debt-free. To me, that is so cool. To say I have now a brick and mortar that is on me because I had the ability to say, chill out, Emily. You have to grow up, put your big girl pants on, and just learn how to work with the details. And when you can do that in the right way, I mean, the possibilities are endless.
So I hear you saying that at one point you were living a financial life of scarcity, scared to look at it, door closed, week by week, paycheck to paycheck essentially, to now growing into a person that looks at finance as a place of abundance. When you went to that place of abundance, how did you feel, and what did that bring out of you for now getting to the next level of your best potential?
That's a loaded question. That's good. I think it's just when you're in flow, right, as an athlete, or if you are doing anything where you're just typing away and you're like, wow, I just crushed my day at work, or I just, I'm trying to think of a good example. Do I have any athletes in here? What do you do? Track. So you're like, that's okay. Once an athlete, always an athlete. So you're about to go, and once you're going, there's no stopping, right? You just know exactly what you want to do, and that's what it feels like. It's saying, I am just literally expressing myself. I don't have to think about the details. I don't have to think about the bank account. I don't have to think about XYZ. If I am just in this state of flow and abundance, because I know I deserve it, I know that I have value to give to the world, and I also know that the people that are purchasing this, the people that are attending my classes, the people that are a part of what I'm building are benefiting from it in a really beautiful way, right? They're becoming better humans. They're learning about food. They're trying tea and being less stressed, right? So if you have a product and you're able to create a lifestyle for people that makes their life better and easier, which I think all of us have that intention of as a business owner, how can I benefit somebody? How can I make their life better? If you have that, it's just karma, right? It's just what you put out will always come back in. And I think the biggest lesson for me was that I constantly put out. I wanted to give my products away for free. I wanted to undercharge. I wanted to just give because I was so excited, but also because I was afraid of asking. And what you realize is if you think of the infinity symbol, right, you cannot give without receiving. And when you stop receiving, if you kind of just, I don't want to charge you, or I don't want to charge too much, you put your emotional blockage up, and there is nothing coming back to you. And so understanding that cycle, wow, no, I do have a lot of things to offer. I can ask for this price point. You will find and attract those clients. They will come to your door. They will knock, they will call, because you are putting that out there. You see your value, and you're gonna get the right clients. Not the people that want the refunds, or not the people that are grumpy, or not the people that are kind of there. They're the right people that you've been asking for. And so that infinity symbol, I think, is something to always remember when you feel like I'm giving. We'll stop and see, well, what am I receiving? What am I letting the universe give back to me?
I love that.
Well, and I was going to say too, part of attracting the right client, I think it goes back to Joyce's example, is knowing what your values are, knowing what your purpose is. And yes, that's the coachy part, right? But when you know those things, you know how you want to show up in the world. And when you know how you want to show up in the world, you do attract those people that are like, yeah, like that's my vibe, I like that, because you know who you are. And that's where we find fulfillment as well. I know every single person out in the audience, you could go find a job where you could make probably more money, but you wouldn't be happy. Or you could create a product. You could bring a product to market, but it's not going to be that product that's like service. It's not what you love. You said you have to do it. It's an extension of who you are. And a lot of times we're not choosing those things because we're choosing based off of, again, what we just think is going to maybe make us money, but we're not looking at the whole picture. And that's really, I think, you're a great example of that is, and you too, Ira, I'm going to give you that too, is really like thinking holistically of what do I want financially and what do I want inside of my relationships? What do I want inside of my impact? I mean, that's a goal. And so really starting to define in all areas of your life what that looks like. And when you're clear on that, I think you feel then pulled in that direction to bring the products. I mean, and you probably will have 5 more. Because I imagine that you're going to feel pulled
Yes, I'm
in
sure.
another 5 directions. But yeah, like it's time to pay attention to where you're feeling pulled and designing, again, like a life that's built around whole life success, not just financial success, but what does life look like?
And one thing that you mentioned in your podcast before is your team and how much gratitude you have for the people around you.
Yeah.
What was that shift in knowing that you had to bring on team members so that way you can stay in the zone that I call the thrive zone?
Yeah.
And where you're bringing your best all the time without really worrying about certain things. And I was listening to the one you did back in December, and you were talking about like you're just go, and your team members are like, can you slow down a little bit?
Yep.
And it's always that relationship between your team and you, and what you're looking for, and how much you keep on pushing ahead, and them actually bringing you back. Let's talk about the team aspect and how has that like allow you to leverage getting to where you are today?
Oh man, yeah, I think it was too many missed trips to the post office. Like, I had to ship these shirts, and I remember going to the post office, getting back to the house, seeing another order. This is before it was like easy on your phone. Seeing another order, being like, oh my God, I have to go back to the post office, which you all know is like, it's like the DMV. Nobody wants to go to the post office. And so going back to the post office to ship another shirt, just one too many times of realizing that the things I was doing, if I wrote them all in a list of like what I really wanted to do and the things I was doing, I no longer was doing the things I really wanted to do and the things that I was good at. I'm not good at going to the post office 6 times a day, right? So what am I good at? What do I want to do? I want to sit in front of a client and I want to help them change their life. So I realized, okay, if I want to do that and I want to do that as best as I possibly can, something's got to go. And so it was just delegating. It was actually my sister who first started with my emails. She took over my support emails, which was amazing. And then I was hooked. I was like, oh my gosh, I have so many more ideas. This is amazing. And you just realize when you look at your plate, and as much as we have to do all the things when we're starting off, you kind of have that stage where you're like, okay, I have to be the person that washes the towels, and I have to be the person that makes the email contacts and answers the phone. There will always be that stage, but there's a moment probably before people realize that they're ready that you have to bring someone on in order to grow. And it's the scariest thing in the world because you're 10 steps ahead of yourself. But that foresight, even if that person comes on for 5 hours a week, it will open up your brain in ways that you just didn't even know they didn't even exist because you were too busy doing the housework, right? And so for me, as soon as I saw that shift, I felt like a breath of fresh air. So it started off as someone helping me with support and then finding a distribution center. It helped, for me, it was finding content curators and Facebook admins. And then finally, the best part was the social media piece, handing off social media to people and saying, I know this is important, but it is completely running my life. I no longer want to be the person that's constantly on the DMs. And so finally, what is your skill set? What are you willing to give up? And what team member feels so good? It feels like such a good fit. And that's the hardest part, is really finding those people. So I think I've been really lucky, right? If you just say, okay, I'm ready. I'm going to release this to the universe. I'm really hippie, so I hope you guys bear with me. I'm going to release this. There's somebody that's out there that's looking for a job to do support emails. I swear to God, every time I do that, within 2 weeks, there's somebody that sends in an email and, hey, are you hiring? I'm really good at virtual assistants. And I'm like, this is amazing. Yes, hired. So there's just definitely the right people come to you. But if not, and this has happened too, you just have to have those hard conversations, and that's how you become a better boss. It's knowing, this isn't a good fit, and I don't really know how to make it a good fit, and this is more stress to make it a good fit than it is to make it work. And so I'm a big believer in making people take personality tests. I'm a huge believer in 16personalities.com and the Enneagram. Those are two that I think are a must to have people in your life take, because all of a sudden you realize how to work with them better. You learn how to be a better boss because how they are, and it just makes you understand them in a really cool way. But it's been incredible. I mean, we grew, within 2 years, we grew 15 people. And
Wow.
so it was just buckled up and head down, and I looked up on that podcast and I was like, oh my gosh, we grew, guys. We did it. So it's still a work in progress, and there's still so much work to be done, because I see each company and I see the potential, and it's just going to get bigger. But it's also recognizing that I am only here because of them. I mean, they're beautiful, amazing people. If you come to the gym, Platform Strength, you'll get to meet them all. They're just people that I want to be best friends with for the rest of my life. So,
And I want Amy to kind of touch on the clarity aspect. And what I recognize in listening to you is that you took a moment to take a step back and find clarity on what you were liking, what you weren't liking, which obviously goes back into your values. And with Amy, she helped me find clarity and what I was looking to accomplish moving forward. And it was super helpful. And from a money coaching perspective and a life coaching perspective, how important is it for people to be empowered by their own clarity?
Yeah, we actually have some really good tools to help you determine what that vision looks like and getting clarity around your goals. And it's important because if you really don't know where you're trying to get, then you don't know what your priorities are, right? And if you don't know what your priorities are, then you don't know where to make commitments with your time, your energy, your money. I mean, we have multiple currencies that we have to plan for. And so you have to be really clear on that, so you know where to place. I mean, I'm sure you have to be uber clear
Yes.
on where to put your energy and your time.
and I
Forget
mess up all
money.
the time. Like, this
Yeah.
is a daily learning process,
Yeah.
right?
But and you're a lot further on the journey than I know some people that are watching. But just, keep that in mind, that you can't really spread your time, money, and energy everywhere. And so clarity is going to be your friend. And the more clear you can be, clear on who you are. I mean, I think we've talked about that, being clear on the values, but being clear on your strengths, what you can and can't do. And it's okay to let it go if you're not an expert. I mean, there's people out there that'll do it great for $15 an hour. Like, let's use those folks. But yeah, being really clear, so you're putting your resources on those and making those commitments where you really need to make it. Because how many, and I know you see again in the health and fitness world, people say, I'm committed. I'm like, how committed are you? They're like, 80%. I'm like, oh, so you have like 20% wiggle room. That's what I heard. So that's where you really want to be clear on who you are. And we do that inside the money coaching sessions. But even if we don't have many coaching sessions in your city, that it's worth spending some time to figure out who you are and how you want to show up and really what you want that life to look like. Designing that vision of whole life success. It's imperative before you get started. Or else your resources are going to be everywhere and you're going to be burned out fast.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
So this is what I recognize about you, is that you have limitless energy.
I take a lot of supplements.
But
yeah.
so you take a lot of supplements, so you're keeping your mindset and physically there.
Yeah.
But the mindset to have that limitless energy, how do you stay in that zone to continue moving forward, knowing that you're being pulled in 15 different directions because you're your employees? Your mind is pulling you into new opportunities. Your clients are pulling you in different directions. So, how do you mentally stay charged and have that limitless energy moving forward?
So this is a big I don't want to ramble too much, so just cut me off. But my food changed my life. I started off about 20, when I was even in reality TV and watching myself, a big piece of it, I had horrible gut issues, I had horrible skin, and I had horrible anxiety. And I had no idea that that was connected to the food I ate. And so when I became a trainer, some of the things got better as far as I felt more confident because I was lifting weights, but nothing changed until I learned about food. So that's my passion as a nutritional therapy practitioner, is that the gut that I had, which was not good, bloating, issues, cramping, it was directly connected to my brain. And I think when you understand that how connected that is, and I know more and more research is coming out about the microbiome and how powerful it connects to our thoughts. If I did not eat the way I ate and did not fuel myself in the way I fueled, it's not just about performance, it is all about my mental state. And so that was for me the biggest piece. It feels like effortless energy, but behind the scenes, it's just day-to-day decisions. Did I eat my vegetables? Did I take my B vitamins? The podcast is a really fun place to go to because you can learn about different types of testing that might be helpful for you, whether it's genetic testing or whether it's just figuring out what it is that your body needs. But as soon as you realize that every bite of food that you make has some sort of, it's going to manifest in some way, I'm either really productive or I am really lazy and lethargic. And I have to make that decision. There's times where I drink too much and eat too much sugar. I mean, trust me, I'm not perfect, but I have a conscious decision. If I have a big day the next day, I know I'm gonna show up as 40% Emily, and my whole team is affected by that. My whole product launch is affected by that. My whole month can sometimes be blipped, so I'm choosing, I'm making that decision. So for me, I am full on a believer that if you can recognize those symptoms and signs and no longer just say this is average, my energy is a 1, my energy is a 3, sometimes it's a 5, you commit to your health in a way that gives you energy of 10, you wake up out of bed excited, that can be possible without coffee. But it takes a lot of asking questions and getting curious and figuring out what works for you, and it's not one size fits all, but that to me has been the biggest change that has opened up quite literally the doors of the companies that I run. So I think that's the best takeaway that I had, that if you change your food and you get curious about your body, you can really open up a lot of doors.
Well, I'm glad I cut back on eating out all the time. You mentioned something that's sticking out in my mind right now, is that money meant problems to you when you were younger. And for many people, they're scared of money. They don't want to have the conversation. It does bring up some past problems that they witnessed when they were younger in their families or culture, whatever it might be. How were you able to handle that challenge as being money isn't a problem, it's a resource, and if you utilize that resource in a proper way, it can become a tool for you to get what you need?
Well, it really came just because I was so excited about launching a product, right? So with the backpack company and then with the tea company, it had to shift for me because I wanted to be able to do more than one round. I wanted this to not just be a one-hit wonder on Kickstarter. I wanted to do 2 Kickstarters, and I wanted it to be a really successful company. So I had to make myself go from survival to thrive. And so I think for anybody that's struggling with that, it's the purpose. I think it's one, understanding that you deserve anything that you want. And people will say, like, I want this, I want that, I want a beautiful house, I want a nice car, or I want to be able to travel. But connecting what you want with what you think you deserve is a very different story. And so most of us have lots of layers and like what you started with, limiting beliefs of what we're capable of. So in our head, we're saying, I want this, manifest it, do all the woo-woo, manifest it. But deep down, your body's saying, you don't deserve that. You're not gonna ask for that. You don't really want that, because what does that mean when you get it? And so it's breaking through that, and it's having hard sessions, whether it's therapists or whether it's lots of herbs. I don't even know. It can be anything. I mean, I've been to weird energy workers to try to get through some of those. And I think it's important, because if you can't figure it out, but you kind of know that might, like, if that resonates with somebody, you can't really control that. That's happening, whether it's generational or whether how you were raised. So just go to somebody and talk it out, whether it's a money coach or whether it's a therapist. Like, get it out and see, how do you feel about yourself? Do you think you deserve good things? Do you think you deserve to make $1 million in a year? Most of us would think that would be nice, but do I actually really deserve
Do you
that?
believe it?
Yeah, and
You have
so
to believe it.
really deep belief. And so I think that's the work. That's the work we all have to do. You can do the work, you can do the emails, you can do the shipping out of products, but that's the work that if you can tap into it even early on, maybe even before you start your business, it's pretty incredible, I think, and it's something that you still always have to work on, but it's important.
They say new level, new devil.
New level, new devil, yeah. That's good.
Always doing the work. Well, and I want to add that we have 2 really great tools inside of our coaching program that looks at your limiting beliefs and trying to take you through the process of switching those beliefs. And then we have another tool that looks at the chatter. Because you'd mentioned that earlier, that you show up and then so does the chatter. Like, what are you thinking? What are you doing? And you leapt. You kept going despite the chatter. But for a lot of people, that chatter stops us mid-track. Like, oh yeah, what am I doing? Yeah, I probably will fail. Yeah, that does sound risky. Ooh, I'd better not do it. And so we talk ourselves out of our goals before we even get started.
Yeah.
So I want to commend you for moving, forward through that despite the chatter. But you don't have to be stuck with that chatter. There's ways to work through it. So you don't have to sit with it.
One of my favorite quotes that I think is relevant to that is, you must teach your sense of self to stand upon its own 2 feet instead of upon every person that you meet. And when I look at social media and how we are connected, there's a reason why you have hesitancy. There's a reason there's more chatter than there used to be. And so I think when you are really struggling with overthinking it, how much time are you on your phone? That is a big one. And we all will doubt, we will all compare, but that's something I think that stops people more than they're willing to admit. And it's such an easy switch. Be more quiet with yourself instead of quiet with the phone. And you'll notice that you have more confidence in who you are because you're not comparing who you are to everybody else.
I love that.
Well, I was just we're comparing their best day to maybe our average day. Like, we're not getting the whole picture, right? So, but I believe I'm with you on that. I think it's an epidemic. Yeah.
So you're here, 5 creations, driving forward. You got a great team behind you. Let's go back to day one when you decided to, get into your first business. What would be a couple things that you would have done differently?
Everything.
What comes to mind?
I think asking for help was something that was really hard for me to do. I was a female that was a trainer, and I felt like I had such something to prove, right? Like, I wanted to do it on my own and figure it out on my own, and I would have just saved a lot of money if I would have asked for help. Just the mistakes that I made, just going from being able to buy 10 t-shirts at a time, eating tuna in my car, right? There was so many things that I could have expedited had I looked at it differently and not seen it from week to week or month to month in survival mode, but saying, sit down, what do I want this year to look like? What do I want to accomplish in this year? Why am I even starting this business? Am I just gonna have scramble and take all the clients that I can, or can I have a little bit more intention? So I think it was simply, and it worked out, and I'm grateful for the things I learned and the lessons I learned, and it all ended up okay. But I think making sure from the get-go your intention is clear and your intention is pure, and that would be the thing I would change. I think I was just desperate to get out of that job, and I was desperate to make sure that I could pay rent, and that's all I cared about at that time. But looking back, it would definitely be, well, what could you create? I think I would have been a little bit faster at getting where I am now if I would have had a little bit more intention and foresight.
Well, and it's using other people's brain power. And that, you talked about the infinity circle and charging people. Well, help.
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of that infinity circle as well. Like, you want to give it, you want to serve, and so why not accept the help?
Yeah.
And why not put yourself out there? I mean, that's part of that whole cycle, because you don't want to block yourself.
Yeah.
But
Which I did.
Well, right? Well, we all do. We don't see our own blind spots.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that example of the infinity, but I think it's applicable here as well. And and a lot of us are thinking, well, I don't have entrepreneurs in my life. I don't know anybody that can help me. But somebody knows somebody that can get you in the right group, can give you a nudge. And it's I think something that kind of drives who you are is just curiosity. and just being curious and starting to ask people, who do you know, and starting to make those connections.
And as young entrepreneurs, like, pay it forward, right? Tell people about the person you wish you could have had. Like, that's something that I'm really a big believer in. Like, if somebody changed my life and I, like, something seriously shifted, share that with everybody, because it's so important, not just for the person you're sharing, but just to give back. And then if you can't give back via charity or money, give back with your resources. We all have that ability. And so I think that's something that's a must. If you are starting out, or if you had 2 years under your belt, what did you learn, and how can you help somebody that just started out? Because people are desperate to learn, but not the hard way.
Well, thank you, Emily. Thank you, Amy. And thank you, Joyce, for being part of this experience. Again, I'm Ira Coleman, the founder of Fluent Hustle. We are a community that empowers, promotes, and inspires entrepreneurs. Inspiration comes from people like Emily, who are able to share their stories, and empowerment comes from the resources around us, especially with Capital One, the money coaching opportunity, and our network that we're looking to push forward and help people find their highest level of achievement. So we appreciate you guys being part of this experience. Thank you guys very much, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.